I'm Madeline McClure, and I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Association for the Protection of Children. And we exist purely to make sure these guys inside can hear us loud and clear. No cuts to kids.
No cuts to kids!
All right. I want to also mention our other sponsors, the Texas Care for Children, the Child Protection Roundtable, the Texas Network of Youth Services, the Texas Nurse Family Partnership, Texas Foster Family Association, Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and then our out-of-town guests, Child Builders Houston, Greater Texas Community Partners Dallas, Voices for Children San Antonio, and last but not least, our amazing foster care alumni and friends. Let's give each of these groups a round of applause. Okay, now, first we're going to do a really fast just inside. Ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. It's raining. It's pouring. Child abuse is soaring. 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 No cuts to kids. 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 Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for being here. It is so important that members in the legislature hear from folks around the state of Texas about what their priorities are. When we get up here and meet, we have to decide what the priorities are for the future of this state. One of them should always be our children. All of us who are here, all of us who are up here in this Capitol, were kids at one time. Some of them still act like kids. And some of them aren't even as responsible as most kids are, in my opinion. But what we have to do is contact legislators, state representatives, state senators, governor, lieutenant governor, the speaker of the House, and let them know that programs like the Child Protective Services and the foster care programs, foster children programs that we have in the state of Texas are programs that we've got to continue. It's not as though we are so generous that we're one of the best in the country. We're not. We spend the least, I think the least of any state in this country on these programs. And it is the least that we can do. To cut any more than that would be irresponsible.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate y'all being out here with the umbrellas, because the rainy day fund is exactly for this type of purpose. To help people when they need help the most. And kids need help when they need help, when they're being abused, when they're not sure where to go, they're not sure where to turn to. We've seen that in the state of Texas, some serious cases of child abuse that you all know. So I hope as we proceed through this budget process, that legislators will hear from you, that they'll stop and think about what doing the right thing really means here in the state of Texas and for the children of the state of Texas. Thank you for being here. Continue to grow in numbers, continue to reach out to folks and friends all over the state and tell them to get in touch with legislators. It makes a difference. Believe me, it makes a difference when we hear from you. Thank you for being here.
Okay. All right, let me ask you a question. Do you think children deserve to be safe and protected? Yes or no?
Yes!
All right. Okay, let me give you a few facts. The number of children that were reported for abuse last year alone were over 288,000 children. That's 3 times the maximum capacity at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium on Super Bowl Sunday. And it's many more times the stadium at UT. And that's 790 children a day. Okay? Now, what are we doing with all those children coming into our CPS system, and yet we're proposing, this budget is proposing to cut that budget by $166 million from last year's budget?
No!
Does that make sense? Yes or no?
No!
Okay, what happened happened to CPS reform? This is CPS deformed.
Yeah!
All right, another fact. Texas has one of the highest rates of child deaths due to abuse and neglect. 277 of our kids died last year to abuse and neglect. That's up 220%. Okay? But the proposed cuts, they're cutting 40% of our prevention division, the only area that will stop kids from coming into the system. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
No!
Let me give you just a very short primer on what the problem is. We've had a tremendous recession in this country. Our legislature has less money to work with than they've had in the past. It doesn't do any good to go in and tell them, don't cut us, because they have to cut everybody to balance this budget unless they take a balanced approach that uses that rainy day fund and adds new revenue.
Yeah!
Now, the Child Welfare Board has given us these wonderful umbrellas to make the point that we've got $9.4 billion in the rainy day fund that we've saved for this very situation, a recession, and we need to use that fund.
Yeah!
Now, folks, right now the House says they're not going to use a penny more than 3.2. So I want you to chant with me so they hear it in there. 3.2 just won't do. 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 Folks, when we can't protect children from abuse and neglect, when we can't prevent abuse and neglect, and yet we have billions in savings, that's just wrong. 3.2 just won't do.
3.2 just won't do! 3.2 just won't do! 3.2 just won't do!
Now, let me give you another little piece of bad news. Even if we spend all the rainy day fund, we're still going to have a huge shortfall. We're going to have to raise some new revenue. The Senate has a committee right now looking at ways to raise new revenue. So the message that we have to send is raise revenue. Raise revenue! Raise revenue! Raise revenue! Raise revenue!
Raise revenue!
So when you talk to your members back home, when you talk to them here in this Capitol, you have to understand the problem that they're in. You need to tell them why these cuts are harmful, but that alone won't solve the problem. You're going to have to go on and tell them, use that rainy day fund, raise revenue. These kids are important. We want to take care of them. Thank y'all for being here. Let's chant it. No cuts to kids. No cuts to kids.
No cuts!
On our alumni and what's happening to them after they come out of the system. And I'm telling you, if Texas cuts budget it's now, they will pay for it at the end. Because the studies that I researched are telling us that more alumni are ending up incarcerated than are going to college. More ending up on welfare than go to college. More ending up homeless than go to college. And if you cut benefits now, you are going to be hurting your own population as they become adults, and you're going to be paying for it. Now, personally, I'm a product of the welfare system. I was in foster care. Right now, I'm a professor at a college, so I teach. So I came out of that system and I went forward. But let me tell you something. I had help. While I was a single mother, my kids were in Head Start. My kids were on CHIPS. We have detention programs. If you cut those juvenile detention programs, you are hurting our populations.
You are hurting the kids that are coming. A recent study, a survey that was done by the Department of Family Protective Services asked youth what they needed. They said they needed their caseworkers' attention. They needed more time from adults to give them opportunities, to tell them what opportunities were out there for them as adults. They are scared when they start to hit 18 and they don't know what to do. When I was sitting with T-Noise this morning, I was speaking to a young lady that lives here in Austin, and we were talking about the system, and she turned to me and she said, I have a question. What do I do when I turn 18? So if you cut now and you cut these services and you don't help them when they're younger, they're not going to know what to do when they turn 18. They're going to end up in the system. Some reports state that up to 50% have been convicted of felonies after leaving Child Protective Services, and this is not what we need. In 2009, I worked on a personal study, and we contacted alumni from the state of Texas. The first 100 we found, 30 of them were the adult incarcerated system, TDC. So I'm telling you that these budget cuts need to be looked at, and they need to be reconsidered before our politicians. They need to look at it, and you guys need to be a voice. Youth, my personal motto is be a voice. Don't just have a voice, be a voice. You are here today because you have something to say. There are over 6 million young adults, and look at the few that we have here. 6 million children in the state of Texas, and a handful of you were able to come today to have your voice. Don't just have a voice, be a voice. Go back into your community, be a mentor, speak to adults, get involved. Don't stay silent. That is my advice to you. I want to thank you for letting me speak to you, and I hope that you will go inside and speak to your legislators and be a voice.
My foster brother and sisters out there. All right. I will start off by saying, and I think some people might agree with me, my name is Rusty Johnson. I am proud to be a foster kid. Proud to be a foster kid. So, well, welcome to a beautiful day here at our Capitol. Probably not that beautiful of a day for some of the kids that call the folks in there their parents. And that's the foster kids, the foster youth. Right now we have over 40,000 in the state, 40,000 foster kids in the state of Texas. And we have about 1,400 of them getting ready to age out, getting ready to leave. And, you know, as the parents back there, isn't it parents' responsibility to kind of teach to spread the wings? So let's see how we're doing so far. Teaching to spread the wings. Now, I've never been good with numbers, all right? Basic mathematics for elementary teachers took in college, worst class ever. Sadly, that's true. But speaking of numbers, about a year to 18 months after they get out of the system, just like Vivian was saying, that the males, as far as male foster kids, 27% of them end up incarcerated, 10% of the females end up incarcerated. 37% never even make it out of high school. And within 12 to 18 months after attempting to spread their wings, again, based on what we've been taught, how we've been taught to spread the wings, don't even have a job. Don't even have a job. Again, I'm not good with numbers, but I do know that if that's the investment we're getting, let's see, you know, what we're putting back into the system as foster kids. Right now, 6 times more likely to be on food stamps, welfare, and public assistance. We're also giving back that 4 out of 5 of us will be parents within 4 short years of getting out of care. 2 times more likely to have our own children, and get this, our own children put back into foster care. 2 times more likely. So that's the investment we're giving back. Okay, so now let's talk about cuts. You go ahead and you cut this. You cut it with the investment we're already giving back. It's not looking very good. Cutting it by $166 million, and also cutting it 100% of being able to keep kids with their relatives. With relatives versus foster parents. 100% cut to that. So to the legislators, imagine that these kids that I've been talking about, imagine that they're your kids. Oh wait, they are your kids. So this is what we're saying, no more cuts, and we're here to take a stand, we're going to take a stand, and by investing in us, it's something that MasterCard can't buy, it's priceless. So thank you very much.